The session is titled Business Preparation Towards Regulations of Single-Use Plastics. It is with great pleasure to invite Mr. Kenneth Cheng, Assistant Director of Environmental Protection Department, to deliver his keynote presentation. Mr. Cheng, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and pleasure for me to be able to be with you today to share some of the government's latest proposals on the regulation of disposable plastic tableware and certain single-use plastic products. So let's first talk about the environmental problems caused by waste plastics. So I think I'm running the risk of preaching to the converted here. But as we all know, plastics are widely used in our daily lives, but their decomposition may take hundreds of years and causing tremendous environmental hazards. In recent years, many different places, including mainland China, Japan, Canada, have been stepping up efforts in reducing the use of plastic materials, in particular single-use plastic products, and have been exploring alternatives. So in line with this international trend, and also in view of the increasing plastic-free awareness of the public of Hong Kong, we think that it is now a suitable time to put forward proposed regulations on the use of disposable plastic tableware and other single-use plastic products in Hong Kong. So under our proposed regulations, what is disposable plastic tableware? Under the proposed regulation, disposable plastic tableware or disposable plastic products is defined to be a product that is wholly or partly made of plastic and is not designed to be used more than once or on more than one occasions before being disposed of. So in accordance with this proposed definition, 4 major types of plastics will be subject to control, which is 1, conventional plastics, 2, biodegradable plastics, 3, also degradable plastics. So please note that under our proposed regulation, even if a product claims to be biodegradable, compostable, or also degradable, as long as they contain plastics, it's still regarded as plastic and is still subject to regulation. And number 4, plastic lining, products with plastic lining is also subject to regulation. The plastic lining is that shiny surface you can usually find, say, on a paper cup. So this slide summarizes our proposed regulation on disposable plastic tableware. So you can see there will be 2 phases. Take a look at the first group of 5 types of disposable tableware, which is in the one cell, the white cell. First, EPS tableware, all kinds of styrofoam tableware, plastic straws, plastic stirrers, plastic cutlery, that is forks, knives, spoons, and plastic plates. These 5 types of tableware will be fully regulated in phase 1 of our regulation. So which means as soon as we implement phase 1, these 5 types of products, we will ban the selling of them to end consumers. Number 1, ban the selling. And number 2, in the context of catering business, restaurants cannot use these 5 types of products either for dine-in or for takeout. So this is phase one for these 5 products. But during phase one, if you look at the 4 other types of plastic products, cups, cup lids, food containers, food container covers, during phase one, they are only partially regulated. That means during the first phase, they can still be used for takeout services, and they can still be sold, okay? But they cannot be used for dine-in. But when it comes to the second phase, we suggest going plastic-free for all types of tableware. So we'll ban both the local sale and the provision of any disposable plastic tableware for both dine-in and takeaway customers. That's phase one and phase two. However, there will be 2 exclusions. First, prepackaged food or drink products will be excluded. For example, if there is a disposable plastic straw attached to a beverage carton, or if there's a plastic fork inside a cup noodle or ice cream, okay, those products will be exempted. Secondly, providing disposable plastic straws to customers with medical needs, for example, swallowing difficulties, will also be exempted. So that's the regulation on plastic tableware. Now let's talk about the proposed regulation on other certain types of single-use plastic products. Based on the recommendation by the Council for Sustainable Development and similar to the regulation on disposable plastic tableware, we propose that the regulation on some disposable plastic products also be implemented in 2 phases. So in the first phase, we propose to ban the sale and free distribution of the 10 plastic products on the slides. So you can take a look at those individual items. You can notice that these products, they either have established non-plastic alternatives. For example, take cotton buds, for example. So nowadays, I think it's very easy for you to find cotton buds Q-tips with paper or bamboo stems instead of paper stems. So there are established non-plastic alternatives, or some of them are not necessities. For example, inflatable cheer sticks that fans use at concerts. These are not necessities. So we're gonna, in the first phase, we'll ban the sale and free distribution of these 10 products. And in the first phase, we also propose that certain hotel toiletries, for example, plastic-handled toothbrushes, plastic combs, shower gels and shampoos contained in little plastic bottles. We will ban the free distribution by hotel to the customers. So they cannot give them to the consumers, their customers, for free, but they can either use non-plastic alternatives or charge a cost at the use of such products. So we observed recently that there are more and more hotels refraining from providing disposable toiletries for free or replacing them with reusable or non-plastic alternatives. And we also observe and understand that some beverage companies, they are switching to producing glass bottled water for hotel tray for them to comply with our government proposal. You can also notice on this slide that we were going to ban the manufacturing of also degradable plastic products because they are extremely bad for the environment. These kind of products, we'll ban their manufacturing, sale, free distribution, because they will easily break down into very tiny fragments after oxidation or chemical decomposition and will create serious microplastic pollutions. Places such as the EU and New Zealand have already banned them. So what is the implementation timeframe for our proposed regulation? To give effect to the proposed regulation that I've just mentioned, we have introduced a piece of legislation called the Product Eco-Responsibility Amendment Bill 2023 into the Legislative Council in March this year, and it's now being scrutinized by a Bills Committee of the Legislative Council. So for phase one, we propose that we'll implement the first phase of regulation 6 months after the passage of this legislation, 6 months after the passage of this legislation. So we expect it will be around either end of this year or early next year. So more likely will be early next year at the earliest. So we're allowing a 6 month preparation time for both the community and the business sector to get themselves prepared. As for the second phase of the regulation, covering those plastic tableware, for example, cups, cup lids, food containers cover. So because these products, they have relatively limited number of suppliers for their non-plastic alternatives at the moment. So we tentatively intend to implement the second phase in 2025. But the exact timing for the second phase will be subject to the availability and the affordability of the alternatives. So now you may say, yeah, it's all good to go plastic-free, to go green, but what about alternatives? How available they are, and what about the cost? So in order to encourage the early adoption of green tableware by the trade, we have engaged the Hong Kong Quality Assurance Agency, Hong Kong QAA, to help us build an online information platform, which is a website you can see here called greentableware.hk. So this information platform will provide the information on non-plastic alternatives. This information platform has been open for listing of non-plastic disposable tableware products since November last year. And so far, we have received almost 300 applications from tableware suppliers for their products to be listed. So information of over 130 non-plastic products have already been uploaded on this website. And more products are waiting to be tested and to be listed on this website. So we do encourage the trade and the general public to visit this information platform to have a better understanding of the options of the alternatives in the market. So this is how, what the website looks like if you go into it. Users can search for alternatives for different types of disposable plastic tableware by category and by different features, for example, their material, their uses, etc. So lastly, what about cost? Based on market survey, market research the EPD conducted last year, so this table shows the cost comparison between disposable plastic tableware and their alternatives. So for disposable plastic straws, stirrers, cutlery, and plates, that means those items proposed to be regulated in the first phase, the prices of their non-plastic alternatives are generally comparable. So if you can see among these tableware items, the price differences between the lowest priced disposable plastic option and their corresponding lowest priced alternative options are generally less than 10 cents. So I would say the prices are very comparable. And our market research also revealed that there are now over 40 local or mainland tableware suppliers providing alternatives to disposable plastic tableware, over 40 such suppliers. So I think the business sector really don't have to worry too much about the availability or the affordability of alternative products. So that concludes my presentation. So with today's presentation, I hope that the business sector will have a clearer understanding of our proposed regulation and the timeline and can make early preparation for smoother and cleaner and greener transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cheng. Please be seated. Now, may I invite Mr. Patrick Ho, Deputy Head, Sustainable Development of Swire Properties Limited, to deliver his keynote presentation. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, BC, for inviting, and great to see you all and staying until now. This is probably before the panel, the last presentation of today. And my great pleasure to contribute, as Kenneth said, a very important legislation and very important discussion that I'm going to share in the next 10 minutes or so. Swire Properties strategy and then measures on addressing single-use plastics and a broader waste management strategy. And these are important aspects, as the presentation title shows, that how this strategy help us to work towards this goal of net zero waste and also driving the business towards circularity. To start with, I think for a company at Swire, we have a sustainable development strategy. Since 2016, we have the vision to be a leading sustainability performer in a real estate industry globally by 2030. And to help us with that, we have the strategy called SD 2030. And under that strategy, we have 5 different parts of pillars. And single-use plastics and this issue actually sits around two different important focus area. And the first one is on waste management and what we now call resource and circularity. And Swire Properties is committed to support the transition towards a circular economy by reducing and managing waste, including single-use plastics. And we are striving to manage our waste management disposal from our business activity, set targets on reducing and improving our performance on waste management, and also incorporate waste prevention considerations in our procurement processes. And by reducing single-use plastic, we strive to minimize our adverse impact to the marine environment and biodiversity. That's also an important focus area under our sustainability strategy. And of course, thirdly, this also contributes to our broader climate agenda, and that plays an important part in our science-based target, the 1.5-degree aligned science-based target to drive net zero emissions by 2050. And in terms of target setting, this is important and a very important subject to provide a direction and also the motivation to enable different teams to focus their energy and efforts. We've established a long-term zero waste goal by 2050, but more important, I think, is the short-term goals by 2025 and 2030. And we have been doing well on track in the past years. In terms of management structure, the company has established different task forces, including Resource and Circularity Task Force in Hong Kong and China. And these group of people meet regularly to establish targets and also to evaluate performance over time, analyze the waste data very carefully, and reveal progress towards our strategy and create new different activities. So from waste to R&C is important because back in 2017, we have already got a waste management policy to guide our approaches to reducing waste from the design, construction, operation to demolition of all buildings. But in 2021, we actually changed the policy name from waste to R&C. And you can see that, now the name itself, as it tells, is emphasize the value of rethinking waste as resources and also promoting the concept of circularity. And that policy framework consists of these three different components. First of all, of course, is on redesign. Now we put more focus on designing out waste, in the first place. And secondly, on reuse. So reusing product as much as possible. For example, we have a Hong Kong first circular furniture program. We actually provide second-hand, very high-quality second-hand office furniture for a moving-in tenants. That is actually furniture collected and moving out tenants. And we provide dedicated space and online inventory for tenants to actually reduce their retrofitting waste. And also, thirdly, our strategy is of course, on recycle and regenerate. That is to enhance resource recycling efforts and across our operations with the ultimate aim actually to convert waste into resources for regenerative use and only return the natural environments, natural elements to nature. And that emphasis on circularity actually helped the company and our tenants for a lot of upcoming risk on legislation, for example, on waste related. For example, in China, there are compulsory garbage sorting legislation, and also in Hong Kong, the waste MSW charging coming up, and also single-use plastics. So on recycling, on STR properties, we have recycled more than 20 types of different materials, and also we have on food waste, over 75% of our F&B tenants are actually actively participating in our food waste recycling program. And in terms of how a business is being affected, there are multiple aspects to look at it. I think Kenneth has given us very clear explanation of the coverage. And in terms of a business area, for example, Swire restaurants and bars will be more being affected, including all the dining services and the takeaway packaging. And secondly, under hotel services, in addition to F&B and the room services, amenities provided in the bathroom, supplies and events and meetings will be affected. And in our office towers and shopping malls, different items such as umbrella bags, souvenirs, collectibles or events will also be affected. On the other hand, our F&B tenants, many of them will also be impacted because they, and as a landlord, we always wish to provide them with technical guidance and also support the transition of these different F&B tenants by providing the necessary logistics, support, and facilities. So I'm going to go into a little bit of deep dive in some particular circularity measures and programs that we've done. And first of all, it's a very well-received program in Taikoo Place. If you come by, next time you buy coffee, remember to use this Muse cup. It's a smart reusable cup. And back in 2020, working with Muse, it's a technology startup company. We piloted this Hong Kong first smart reusable cup network in Taikoo Place. I'm very glad to see that the network has expanded continuously. And now we have 13 cafe partners, and most of these are our tenants in Taikoo Place participating. And using the system is very simple. It involves customer asking for the cup when you buy the coffee. You basically use the mobile phone with an app just to beep, and then you can, after returning the cup at many return stations well placed in Taikoo Place. All you need is a mobile app. It's very simple, clean, and easy. So since the program's launch, we have prevented the disposal of, here shows 20,000 single-use coffee cups. And also we have achieved a very good return rate of 99.5%, almost 100% of return rate. So while we continue to expand the program with more F&B outlets, we're also working to expand this reuse system to other portfolio, and also in particular to cover other, for example, name here is the food containers, lunch boxes, that we are trying to look for that opportunity. And also a lot of our corporate tenants are also, trying greening their catering events. And I think these solutions will also be very supportive in terms of helping these office tenants to green their corporate events. As Swire Hotels, we have been intensifying our commitment to reducing single-use plastics, and a wide range of initiatives have been implemented. For example, East Hong Kong, they have actually phased out all single-use plastic, replacing all straws, hampers, room amenity wrappers, and toothbrushes. The products now made by bamboo. And some hotels have also retrofitted, around 800 of these rooms are retrofitted with the in-room water filtration system. So, completely no packaging at all for these rooms, which help us save over 2.7 tons of plastic bottles since implementation. And in addition to some recycling, upcycling measures, we have also adopted a EcoSpirit systems at several hotels. It is an innovative closed-loop systems, distribution system that nearly eliminate all packaging waste at all in the premium spirit supply chain. And moving on to events, we run events. And this is a White Christmas Fair event. It's one of our annual flagship charity event for community engagement. And this event has set its mind is that the working team is working towards a zero waste event. The team actually kept mindset of upcycling and recycling from the planning stage, and earlier on collaborating with designers, suppliers, and vendors to plan and manage the materials that we use it and discard it. And the street fair last year, the theme was Bloom and Beyond. So blooming flowers, right? So it was decorated, as the photo show here, with 5,000 upcycled poinsettias. This is the 大红花, Christmas red flower. And what is it made of, you would think of? It's actually made of Swire hotels, old bed linens, and also the retired cabin crew uniforms from our sister company, CX Cafe. And designated recycling points were also set up at the fair to collect different kinds of recyclables and also compostable waste to ensure all this waste have been recycled within the fair to ensure a closed-loop approach. And several of the fair's installations were built using a new technology that 3D prints some reversible sand. You can see on the bottom photo, it's growing together for 50 years. It's actually made up of these 3D sands. And these sands can be demolished and recycled and reused again. And by developing these sort of innovative measures, we have achieved a 23% reduction of set of materials comparing to the last year. And also overall, we have recycled over 90% of waste diverted from the whole fair. So working towards net zero, but not yet net zero. But this is still something we push the team to do better and better every year. So lastly, I want to say, introduce a few programs that tackling, our tenants. The first of all is that, it's a program addressing our office tenants. And, more and more companies now, are placing increasing importance on sustainability and ESG. And they no longer only look for green office space, but also looking for landlord to provide that support to help them achieve their ESG goals. And this is why we've introduced these sort of different programs to engage them. So building on a basic premise of a green lease, this Green Performance / GPP program actually covers the entire tenancy cycle in the two core areas. One is the fit-out process, and the other one is operations process, with a focus to creating a significant impact in terms of reducing energy and carbon, water, and waste reduction. And in less than 2 years, we're very amazing. We have over 40% of Hong Kong office tenants measured by the occupied leasable floor area have already signed up and participate in GPP. And we want to raise that to 50% by 2025. So how does that work? For tenants that actually planning a renovation process, the GPP has included a very comprehensive set of sustainability fit-out guidelines with very user-friendly templates to help their designers to integrate different sustainability measures, including things on using recycled materials and innovation, setting up recycling facilities in the office, and how they can do more to design a waste at the renovation stage. For tenants that after fit out in the operational stage, they will benefit from a lot of things. For example, performance benchmarking, action planning advisory, data sharing, as well as access to different pioneering green technologies, such as energy meters, and also Hong Kong first smart waste monitoring system that was adopted in our office portfolio since 2021. So you can see there's a smart scale next to the bin in the photo. That is the technology itself. So if you look at the whole building, actually over 90% of our office building, the waste is actually generated by our tenants. So it's very important that we engage tenants, employees as much as possible. And what waste management traditionally has been relying on a lot of manual work, manual weighing, recording. And so we have to work continuously to embrace technologies that can actually digitalize the whole process. And back in 2021, we launched this Hong Kong's first Smart Waste Reduction Challenge using smart scales and a digital engagement platform to actually gamify the whole waste collection experience by the employees of our tenants. And we have organized this Smart Waste Reduction Challenge, and there were 20 participating teams drawn from our office tenants across Taikoo Place, Pacific Place, and Citygate, as well as Swire Properties' own offices teams actually take part, engaging over 3,400 employees in the whole process. And these participating teams have collectively diverted over 36% of total waste from landfills, and also managed to reduce the total waste per employee by 16%. So this is a very great marriage of using digitalization and behavioral change, driving positive sustainability impact. And for F&B tenants, we have established this Green Kitchen initiative as a dedicated platform to help them to start with the greenest possible kitchen design and renovation as much as possible. So well before renovation begins, Swire Properties team actually share a set of technical guidelines and we work closely with the tenants and the designers introduce energy and water efficient appliances, and also in waste management, at least dedicated space for setting up the recycling bins, for example, food waste, and also how they incorporate, in green procurement practice, using recycled materials in the fit-out process, and also how to set up the facilities for ongoing waste management and monitoring. So these all the facilities were very well received by our F&B tenants, and our teams have been working with these tenants throughout the whole renovation process and helped them to realize the benefits of going green in our operations. I'm very, very happy to see that we have 79 F&B tenants in Hong Kong and China now participating in this initiative. So I would like to wrap up my presentation with an interesting graphic that we developed for our campaign called Sustainability. We all count, which speaks, I think, the importance of having cross-sector collaboration and partnership to drive positive sustainability impact. The same spirit applies for the topic today, how we help Hong Kong to move towards circularity, and I look forward to fostering the partnership with government, BEC, all the companies and organizations to advance to zero waste in the near future. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ho, for sharing. Please remain on stage for later the panel discussion. As a reminder, online participants are welcome to use the Q&A box if you have any questions to our speakers. And for audience in the room, please raise your hand and we will pass you the mic. Now, please welcome our moderator, Ms. Ada Yip, Chief Empowerment Officer of Urban Spring, and our panelists, Mr. Kenneth Cheng, Mr. George Chan, Mr. Patrick Ho, and Ms. Sabrina Lasky-Adikpatic. Ms. Yip, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We only probably have 20 minutes, but please be seated. Well, thank you for being here on a end of day, but I think it's very important that you stay until the end because this is an exciting panel for sure, because besides Patrick and Kenneth, in speaking to Sabrina and George, actually they have some very exciting materials to share with you all. So maybe I'll stick on to what Patrick sort of talked about earlier about the reuse program and sort of go to Sabrina first. Because you also have a program, Food Panda with WWF, right? So why don't you go ahead and share with us about the program, the challenges, what has worked well as you expected, and what are the little surprises that you have?
Thank you, everybody. First of all, after hearing what Kenneth has said, it made my speech much more easier. And after we see all the statistics that Patrick have made, first of all, we are extremely fortunate living in Hong Kong in a way that, we are compact. We all know what good life is about. We love our environment. We love our people. All that boils to is that I was born here. It's all about environment. Can we keep our environment the way that it used to be? So this is a starting point of my journey. I am a green tech company. We develop, we R&D, we develop, we patent the very important technology. We call it a green fiber technology, using pure green fiber, and transform the normal natural material into something magical. That's exactly what Patrick has just mentioned. If we can get the material from the nature, end of life, shall we give it back to the nature? The question is that it's all about material. Didn't we think about that? I still remember when I was a kid, I carried a very heavy stainless steel water bottle to school. I always complained, it's so damn heavy, I don't want to carry it. Plastic come along, wonderful. It's light, easy, and look good, transparent in color. Until now, as the world changes, now we are going back to stainless steels again. So why we want to do that? First of all, the convenience that we enjoy all these years definitely does a lot of damages to our environment. So being part of the team of the scientists, 16 years ago, we started the journey to investigate. Our dream is that if we have a natural material, just like exactly Patrick said, all from nature, end of the life, just go back to nature. Can we do it? We did it only in Hong Kong. For the last 3 years, our product, I so-called this green GCM, green composite material, this material is a pure fiber. What is meant by pure? It means that there's no lining in there, there's no additive, there's no plastic, there's nothing except 100% nature. What happened to that? After use, all I need to do is either dump it into my soil, or I can even, by mistake, fall into ocean. Fall into the ocean. This product fall into the ocean, it will be eaten up by the microbials, and it is certified by TUV. All this is about blah, 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 blah. What it means is that technology is so important in today's life. We all talk about technology. We all talk about finding legislature, banning this, restricting this, and then that. And what is the solution? The good part of that, without the banning that our EP did, without clearly specify what is to be banned, what is plastic, what is not plastic, why we ban it. All this is so important as a guideline for us, the scientists, to focus on something that according to the facts, not the claim, not the industry. So eventually, what we have done for this year is that we developed a solution in such a way that before uses, you can put this into oven, you can put this into steam, you can put it to even fire and directly cook with it and help all the format of the, the workflow, everything has been so easy. And most important, food saving. We can freeze it, we can reheat it, blah, blah. Anyhow, all this boils down to one point. Technology is essential. In order to drive down the cost, which is so important, what we did is engineering. When we have clever engineering continuously to go beyond what we used to know, the cost came down. But in the meantime, the next part, we need people like Patrick. Have a very important foresight to realize what the technology to drive, not only for benefit just on the dollar and cents, the total holistic view. So what they have done is just amazing. All the number he put on, I think my time is here. I leave it to him.
No, George, this is very exciting. So is this in the market yet? Because all these other products claim to be all natural and without the plastic lining. So can you share with us, is the product available and is the pricing comparable?
I like this part. When I want to have a paper cup, I bet anyone here, have you ever tear off the paper and then you see a piece of plastic lining inside the paper cup? We don't, except the EPD people. They understand that is plastic, that is covering, and thinking that is paper. To me, that is greenwashing, misleading. So when you mention that, where is it available? Yes, we are a Hong Kong tech company. We are extremely proud to get our production plant base, which is 2 hours from Hong Kong in Dongguan, and our facilities enable us, first of all, to serve the country that I love the most, Hong Kong. So it means that, yes, it's available. We are already commercialized. And I love the table that Kenneth shared. Which table is, for me, is most important, is the cost. When he presented today, my first time, to bring that to show what is the cost is, the good news, my paper cup, coffee paper cup, 100% cellulose, no lining, whatever. After use, all you need to do, crush it, mix them up with food waste, send to EPD, OPAC 1, and convert into energy. In front of him, this is not a claim, it's a fact. It's science, it's all been done. We have all the facilities here. And the good news is, the price of this cup is even lower what he put out on there. That is a good news.
That's exciting. And this hits probably perfectly what Patrick mentioned about redesign, right? About products. So why don't we switch to Sabrina? You have got a great program, running. I understand it's a pilot, but you have gone through the second phase. But it would be very good to share with the audience in terms of what has worked well and what are the little surprises from your program.
Yeah, sure. So a bit of context about the program before I delve deeper into the program. We are very aware of government regulations and plans to phase out plastic tableware by 2025, and we are very eager to support our restaurant partners in phasing out this plastic tableware as well and reduce their plastic waste. Knowing this, we actually started a sustainable packaging program in 2020, where we actually sell plant-based bagasse packaging to our restaurant partners at a very low cost. However, after conversations with WWF, we realized that actually a lot of our packaging is still going to landfills because in Hong Kong we actually do not have any composting facilities. So we're still producing some waste. So that's kind of the inspiration for why we even have a reusable packaging pilot in the first place. So with general support from the Environment and Conservation Fund, in October 2022, so last year, we launched a reusable packaging pilot. So these are the containers. So you can now actually order your food with these reusable packaging, reusable food containers, at our partnering restaurants in parts of Hong Kong Island, including Wan Chai, Causeway Bay, Admiralty, and Central. So all you need to do is to go to the Foodpanda app when you're in one of these areas, and if you scroll down, you will be able to see a little icon that says choose reusable packaging, and you click on it, and there comes a list of all reusable partner restaurants. And if you navigate then to the reusable menu section and order food from there, all your food will come packaged in these reusable containers, actually. So all you have to do then is to return these containers back to collection machines. We have 9 across Hong Kong Island, and there you'll be able to get collection rewards. We have Foodpanda vouchers and carbon wallet points offered to people who return these containers. But you also receive your deposit back, because when you first order food, you actually pay a $10 deposit on these containers. For each container, you pay $10, and once you return it back to the machine, you get your deposit back. So as of right now, we have sent out around 14,000 of these containers with a return rate of around 40%. This is, in comparison to Muse, it's quite a low return rate, but the way that we have thought about this is that, first of all, because the deposit is so low, it's at $10, a lot of people tend to think of it as a purchase. I think it's very much in the spirit of reusables in general, and we also don't foresee it to be a regular occurrence, which is pretty much why we are not really concerned about this for now. But also, we see that a lot of people hoard these containers, so they tend to keep, let's say, 7 of these containers and return them all in one go. So actually, at the start of the pilot, our return rate was only around 20%. So from October to now, to go up by 20% is actually shows that this hypothesis could have some validity.
I guess it's quite normal to have some hiccups and people need to get used to a new habit, right? So, but are you getting a lot of pushback from your partners in the beginning when you're trying to roll this program?
Yeah, so we actually currently only have around, it's around 40 restaurant partners so far. We have a difficulty of onboarding these restaurants in general because of storage concerns, where these are not quite as stackable as normal plastic or other types of packaging that are, disposable. But also, it's F&B industry is quite traditional-minded, we find. And even though to us it's just, oh, you're packing it in a different packaging, right? But to them, when it's busy lunch hours, it's pretty much doubling their menu. If you think about every single item, you can now choose reusables. It's duplicating their entire menu, and it's operationally disruptive to them. And it's very hard for them to, make sure that they give the correct orders out.
Right. So, Patrick, you are also in the service industry, right? So people hate complaints. So are you hearing any complaints from your tenants or partners about, why are you doing this? You're creating trouble?
Not exactly the case. Actually, so the initiative that Smart Cup that we do is actually a response to tenants' demands, because a lot of these coffee lovers in the Taikoo Place community, when they look at how many disposable cups they create every day, is a lot of burden to the landfill. And actually, so we do receive a lot of constructive comments from tenants. Would there be a viable solution within the ecosystem of Taikoo Place that we can develop? And that's how the smart reusable cup actually get generated. And I share a lot of Sabrina's point is that it's not easy. Behind that effort, achieving the numbers that we achieved so far is a lot of good work from the team and with the Muse, the technical partner. And one of the challenges definitely shared is the logistics. It's because the cost actually is not the cup itself. It's not, it's basically, it's the way that you collect these cups, how you wash this cup at a very hygienic standard, and how to return the cups to the coffee partners. So at the first, we have to see the challenge that is that very first beginning, we have a third-party cleaning contractor actually located on the Kowloon side, which is a bit far from Corey Bay. And to address this, explore different options in the market. And eventually, we're very lucky to have actually an F&B partner. Keen Food Hall is a food hall partner that is located in Taikoo Place. They were able to actually play the role of cleaning the collected cups. And that's really bring a lot of benefits because of time and cost, and also reducing the carbon footprint from the transportations to actually enable to more close the loop. So it's very amazing to see that. And we are also seeing the problem. More importantly, is that we need a very diverse strategy on addressing waste. Switching materials is one important aspect. But at the same time, we think that reuse system should be incentivized in the local business community. How if you're just switching one materials and other materials, it still requires a lot of energy and resources to produce that material in the first place. And if that material doesn't get recycled, it's still end up in the landfill. So it's very important that we have to rethink how we can have a very comprehensive set of solutions. Some reuse systems, also green materials that's advocated by EPD. I think and it needs to be expanded. And also the affordability is another issue, because I think by 2025 we are expanding to the reusable lunch boxes or coffee cups. I mean, currently the options, as George said, is great, but we're hoping to see more. For us to choose, currently on the platform there are 7 of them. So I'm sure the next few years we have a lot more options, so that our hotels team won't complain to us. There are no options if you're talking about green. That will help drive a lot of the cost. I think that is also something we have to work together to enable that transition to happen.
Well, reuse is great, but I'm a supporter of redesign. So going back to George, so if one of the industry people actually want to work with you to develop something so that it works for their chain of F&B, say, for example, what should they do? Can they just call you, or?
My phone number is right here. Yes, allow me to do a little bit elaboration on the development part. This is a totally new material. It's involved a lot of engineering and processing changes. So it means that the whole process of making, like the machinery processings, are all pattern or unique solutions. So what we set up here is not only just a production plant. We set up a huge, we call PD, Product Development Plant, which means that, most important, containers is one of the essential part of food industry. It's really, for us, and it's like the face, what the consumer first interface before they're eating, is appearance of it, it's the touch of it. So all this, and also different food is prepared in different kind of way, like in central kitchen, whether you are cooked serve or cooked chill or cooked frozen, you know, all this need to be addressed. So answer the question, we are ready here. We have quite very huge facilities in a way to do our first class of customer, which bring in their requirements, and we will try using our facility know-how to sort of turn out the solution that adapt their environment. So our business model is not to make one cup fit all. Our business model is that we are creating different recipe, different looks and different strength and different thicknesses, different things to match with on different usage. In this way, two things we achieve. Number one, price. Number two, functionality. Number three, create new businesses. Many restaurants before, they can only serve in their restaurant. But think about that. Now they can freeze it. They can frozen it. And they can also send to them and sell the product in the vending machines, which bypass all the traditional way of cook serve. Through this, what happened? Food saving, food storage, recycle, gathering. The whole chain going to speak to each other, rather go against each other. So I believe designing is not only the product, is that we try to work with EPD, we try to work with like Swire and all these important people, that why don't we come together and start to find out a way to compromise each other and take different part role of it. I think that is a very important solution.
Yep, so we have basically people who have programs and examples of reuse,
Yes.
There's materials. So going back to Kenneth, when I looked at the timeline, I get excited, but at the same time, it's pretty scary. So is there any, besides the website and information you have shared, is there any other resource that the government or other partners can provide with the industry so that they can help them to accelerate the adoption?
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say, after hearing our fellow panelists sharing, I feel really encouraged. It's very encouraging to see that, so many people in the business sector, they're actually making this thing happening, this plastic-free trend. They're setting the trend, they're first movers, and it's all very good. As to your question, I think it's not just the government. Of course, we will do what we can to help the business sector, especially the small and medium-sized businesses, to for a smoother transition. For example, the Green Tableware information platform that I just mentioned. And we will continuously to reach out to them. But I also appeal to first movers like you guys and other companies, and of course the BEC as well, to do something to help the SMEs, for the small business owners, small restaurant owners who are maybe too busy or lacking the knowledge to do the transition. They may not even have the time to think about it. They don't even know that alternatives are actually very affordable to them. So here on this part, I think all of us have to do more so that the whole sector, the Hong Kong as a whole, I think on this issue is already one of the issues that I've worked on during my career in the government. That is one of the issues that has the strongest community and business sector consensus. Okay, so so I think we can even do it better by helping the small SMEs to go along, so that Hong Kong can be really a plastic-free in terms of disposable plastic products.
Yeah, thank you. So unfortunately, because of the restriction of the venue, the time, so there's lots of information here. But the good thing is, you have the connection, you know who is doing what. There is a list on the government website. So let's hope maybe after we go back to the hall, please reach out to contact one of our panelists. Maybe they can share more information with all of you. So again, I think the message is, the solutions are available and it's not as expensive and as difficult as you think. So start small, start now, because the time is ticking for sure. So thank you again for listening. Let's stay in touch and make sure that we find a solution and start your solution pretty soon. Thank you.